Hi, everybody. I'm doing something a little bit different today, and I wanted to just share some of my musings based on what I've learned about cognitive functions over the last few months. And I was thinking particularly about how cognitive functions can sometimes be supercharged with energy and how that affects the way they work, the outcomes, and the kind of routes that they take. And so the example is, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, when you're in a new relationship and you are head over heels in love with that person and you really, really want it to work, but that person is doing things that is causing you anxiety, confusion. Basically, you have the emotion of loving that person, lusting after them, maybe being a bit obsessive about them. But you also have the negative emotions being caused by that not being reciprocated or uncertainty or whatever. So, a very emotionally charged situation like that involves you and this other person, and it doesn't involve anybody else. So you become quite aware that, I don't normally feel like this. I don't normally act like this. They're calling me an overthinker, and I'm usually not an overthinker. And it's almost like you have a different personality in that scenario, or rather, an enhanced version of you, supercharged by emotions, basically. So I was thinking about how emotions can affect intuition. So when we think about being emotional, we have impulsive tendencies. So that means we're acting not on our usual discernment, but we're acting on our impulses and urges because the emotion is so intense. We want to shift the emotion out by taking action and rebalance the psyche in that way. So have a look at how those things, how that intermingles with cognitive functions. So with intuition, so I've just written a few notes on this. So in the case of intuition, that whirlwind romance feeling, but that it's not being reciprocated. You are trapped in the emotions of longing, love, hate, ecstasy, and misery all at the same time. And I'll add to that that depending on what kind of triggering the person has, i.e., because of their past experiences, especially childhood ones, different emotions will be stirred up in different people. So I'm using the example of, well, I'm talking about me, love, hate, longing, all of that. But it might be emotions like shame, rage. It might make you actually want to avoid the person instead of coming towards them, but that can still be intuition is being affected. But we're just going to use the examples of the emotions that I gave, and then we might do another video on what could happen if it was actually different emotions that were driving the intuition. Emotions cause an imbalance in the psyche and can cause a person to overuse or underuse functions or change the pathways more rapidly or in new directions as opposed to usual. So that kind of overthinking energy, and then getting all these ideas about what the problem could be and how you could solve it, and you're kind of away there. It's much quicker because it's emotionally driven. I'm using the example of a woman here because that's what I am. So the archetypal images in her head or in the person's head are increasing in their clarity, and she is able to consciously perceive more about this person she is lusting after than with the average person. So, because of the emotional charge giving the NI a boost, the person is really forming a very detailed picture of the perfect person. Because we're talking here about NI, she's her libido is flowing very little towards the object, towards the man, but the libido is flowing mainly towards herself. So she's not creating an image of him, she's gathering information from outside, but most of what's going on is that she's forming a detailed picture of an archetype or of a type of person, that's heavily based on objects that are already in her psyche rather than actually what's going on the outside or what the guy actually is. She may start intricately building the perfect man in her mind as she experiences things that make her feel elated and things that make her feel depressed and angry, causing her to add them or subtract them from the image. So she's going along, he's feeling a lot of these different emotions, and she's going, okay, I like that, I like that, I don't like that, I don't like that, I'm not looking for that, I'm looking for that. And all these things are being added into this image that she's creating of him or of an archetype, which she then wants him to fit into. And I'm not talking here about the FI version of I like that, I don't want that. I'm talking purely about which emotions feel good to her and which don't. The emotions on a primal level. Um, or indeed which emotions are familiar to her. So we don't always necessarily enjoy positive emotions depending on our conditioning. We may be more used to shame-based emotions, so we actively seek those out. So when I'm talking about what somebody likes or dislikes in this context, what I'm talking about really is the emotions that she is pre-programmed to seek out because of various reasons. So which ones she's accepting and which ones she's rejecting. It will probably be hard for the man to understand why some things seem to hurt the woman because he's not party to her intricate standards for him. And neither is she able to express easily what they are. She might come across as complicated, inconsistent, or too serious. So she's building this archetype, this perfect man, based on what she likes in the relationship and what she doesn't like, and on her other musings about it. And then she's constantly comparing the man before her to this archetype. And because it's all unconscious stuff, she really doesn't understand why she's pissed off at the guy for something really simple that he did. And then he obviously doesn't understand why either. And he starts to think, oh, she's just an overthinker. I can't do anything right. And she starts to try and explain with logic why she's not happy. But she's never on the money. It's never correct and accurate because she's not seeing what's going on in the subconscious. NI. Externally, the intuition is moving around multiple vaguer archetypal possibilities, all fleshed out greatly by lots of external researching and talking to different people. So this is extroverted intuition. So she's emotionally fueled. And obviously this man's hurting her and pleasing her in equal doses. And she's going, right, okay, what is it? What's wrong with him? She's typing the symptoms into Google and she's going, aha, narcissism, sociopathy, different attachment styles. Well, he's got an anxious attachment style. Maybe he's got Asperger's. And it's all kind of the possibilities of what it could be. And she's assigning them to the guy or to her image of the guy. The woman might start to try on different hats and seem different from one day to the next. So and she's going, okay, right, I'm going to treat him like he's got an avoidant attachment style. So she stops calling him. So he notices a change in her pattern of communication. And that's in response to the fact that she doesn't like his pattern of communication, but he's noticing, oh, she's changing her pattern of communication because she's treating him differently. She's treating him as if he is this. And then the next day, she might go, do you know what? I don't care if he's got an avoidant attachment style. I'm worth more than this. I'm going to now act like, a feminist who knows their worth. I'm going to act like a queen, and then she might start to change her patterns of communication again. So she might start to contact him more, but she'll be saying different things because she's wearing this new hat. So she's assigning it's like she's assigning an energy to herself, she's assigning an energy to him, then she's acting within those boundaries. But then the next day, she's changing the energies that she's assigning. So the woman might, the man might start to think that she's flaky, untrustworthy, or over emotional because she always seems to be saying contradictory, jarring, deep, or random things. Yeah, so she would just come out with something like she's been pondering on it for a long time, reading about it. She might suddenly come out with, I think you have mummy issues. And the guy's like, where did that come from? And it's very jarring, okay? Um, but to her, it shouldn't be jarring because she's done a lot of pondering about it. Um, Contradictory. So one day she's saying, oh, it's me. I think I've got an anxious attachment style. And then the next day she's going, you're just a dog. You treat women like, you don't treat women like queens. You treat us badly. And he's like, okay, so is it her? Does she see the problem as her, or does she see the problem as me? And being too deep as well. And it looks random because she's changing from seemingly one topic to the other. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Just to recap, so it's about how if your function is being emotionally charged because of a certain situation you're in, it can take it off into these different directions, or it can feed it in a way that's almost overfeeding it, so it becomes quite intense or dominant. And then you come out of that relationship and you go, wow, I just completely lost myself. I was overthinking, I was anxious all the time, everything he did I wasn't happy with, and you're saying the same things that he was saying to you in the relationship, coming at it from another angle because you don't, you couldn't help what was happening, basically. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to do one next on what happens when sensing is emotionally charged. And then I'm going to do videos on feeling and thinking, what might happen when they are emotionally charged. Thank you.